Welcome back.
We're back
We're back.
for another episode. Did another Saturday morning exercise,
Yep.
and now we're back into the podcast, man. It's good to be here.
Yeah. Killed our legs.
We did do some killer legs. And what's it? The new thing you showed
Nordics.
me? Nordics were kind of awesome.
Yeah, did some assisted Nordics.
Yeah. So you put the band around your chest, and then you fall forwards and come back up. I did imagine at one point myself of that band snapping and hitting me in the face for some reason, but
Those bands are strong. They're the
I
road
know,
monster.
but I can't get the memory of me using rubber bands as weapons against my school age friends
Yeah.
as I was growing up.
Well, the theme around this episode, and the theme is conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
We started diving in a little bit at work, and I was like, oh, we got to talk about that.
Oh man, I got a lot.
I
There's
know.
a couple websites out there. I can't believe them all, but they're fun to
Fun.
to go over. So some aren't necessarily. Some do seem true.
Some are fun and funny and all this stuff. Some are just like, man, I really don't want to go that route of believing in this. And some are just, like, oh, that's ridiculous, right? Like,
So have
Or-
you looked at any? Have you looked at any?
I mean, I know of a lot, right? Like, like that they're just like, we can go as like far as like flat Earth and all this stuff, and I can just laugh at that, ha ha ha, or like, for me before it was such a funny thing. It's like, oh, the streaks in the air that the airplanes make, but you are a believer, my friend.
Look, I have a couple questions about the.
You're not saying you
contrails.
believe it, but you just question it.
I question the science of how do they stay there that long,
Yeah.
right? What's in that nice white, fluffy, semi-dispersed line that appears to be a cloud over time?
Sensation.
I don't think so. That's water that evaporates. So jet
What do
engines
you
burn
think
clean.
clouds are?
Watch a jet fly. Right?
What do you think clouds are? Let's
have
start there.
video.
Regular clouds that come.
They're just fluffy water. I get it. right?
Okay.
I get it. But jets don't naturally make clouds. Clouds don't come out of their engines, right? No. So what the hell watch a jet fly in the sky.
You ever
And it's like
in
this much.
winter when it's really cold, looked at your tailpipe and just see.
Yeah, but there's not lines on, going down 95 of white trails behind our cars.
But the atmosphere is different. Like
tell-
it
You think it's any less different up there that the wind
yes,
doesn't blow as much?
Yes, there's way more nitrogen up there than it is in here.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I want to know what's in the jet engines that makes the trail safe. And here's another thing. I did watch a video and read a actual scientific study on. They were like, hey,
Scientific? By who?
by some scientists. I don't remember who. They had an N and an A in the description, and it looked scientific because
It looked very scientific.
it was a PDF, and
It was PDF. Oh, so it
was
must
hard-
be true. It was
hard-
in PDF.
It was
format.
hard to find because I had.
You know how
I had
hard it is to convert a Word document in
Well,
PDF?
no, I had to do an advanced Google search to find it with like an EDU extension. So that's how
Okay,
I know it's
all right,
probably
yeah.
semi legit.
Semi-legit.
So they went up to this mountain to get as close as they could to these jet contrails, and
Mm-hmm.
they took sample of the snow up there, and there was aluminum in the snow.
Okay.
Why? Why would there be aluminum in the snow?
Yeah. Very, very good
Just saying.
questions.
But I'm saying, what if someone's putting aluminum in there?
So do you think that the contrails or whatever are your furthest conspiracy theories that you're like really into? Like, oh my God, like I'm
No,
going to die
they're-
on that mountain
They're just
of questions.
No, they're just plausible because I can relate them to climate change, right? I could understand if they wanted to spray some stuff in the atmosphere to slow it down, or think that they could, right?
Okay.
Like that's where I'm going with it. Like it could essentially be a thing if we really wanted to. But there's other conspiracy theories that are probably absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Do you have one off the top of your head?
I mean, aliens, that's a big topic right
they're
now.
great,
right?
man. Yeah.
I love the whole thing of aliens, right? Because to me, yes, they exist 100%. Are they on Earth? Like visiting? Are they interacting with us? Like that starts getting like really, really.
I take my wife's view on that. If I
What's your
can't
what?
see them and they're not here, why the hell should I worry about them?
I don't worry.
Or to even think about them. Like, so man, what I love to be in a Star Wars with a lightsaber and an alien.
You're a
Like,
big Star Wars guy.
I would love it, right? But like for one, if they do exist and they are here, then they don't want to be our friend because they know we're messed up, right?
Yeah.
So
There is that.
yeah, two, they have a long-term goal to take over the Earth, which is going to be more than 80 years, or they just aren't here, and we have some unexplained stuff going on.
Yeah, it gets you really thinking, like, are we an experiment of the aliens? Like, are we as human beings just another thing, like the way that we look at ants?
Yeah, are we just inside a quantum computer
Yeah.
in a virtual reality?
Yeah,
right?
that's another conspiracy theory, right? Like, are we
Tell you
in
what,
the Matrix, right?
if that's the truth, it's pretty damn realistic.
I mean, I don't care. It's like one of those things that some people, when they hear certain things like that, it really takes over, and it's like they get anxiety and they think about it and they let it take over your life. For me, it's just like, oh, this is cool to look into, because it's like if you think about space and infinity and all that stuff, right?
Oh,
There's,
yeah.
your brain is just gonna hurt of how much there is out there, right? Mm-hmm. Because the data shows that if our universe is infinite, then there's another reality just like this having the same conversation, the same time as us right now, somewhere out there.
All I'm saying is, like, if like I could find another version of myself,
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that I would be best friends with myself.
I mean, that would make sense.
I was like, so, but there's there's also,
Unless you hate yourself, it's one of those things. Like, unless you're like, man, like really down there and like you hate your life.
Well, well, if that theory's right, though, right,
Yeah.
then that means that there's like a Darth Sith version of yourself out there that probably wants to kill off all the other versions of you, much like Jet Li in the semi-popular 2000s movie, where he was time jumping to kill off versions of himself, and every time he did, he became more powerful, which is just like the Highlander. There can only be one.
Whereas your reality is like, there cannot be all of us. Welcome.
It's going to be a party of Raj. You know?
What about Ghost? Do you believe in
Ghosts?
ghosts?
All right, so I often could debunk or explain, I guess, some of it through science, energy, physics, or some stuff like I have seen stuff in the dark just because I am human and I am afraid of being mauled by animals at some level. But there's certain things that I see that I can't explain. There are some. So my wife's she's like a medium in all but like names. Like she gets messages. It's amazing.
We talk about this. Both our wives are very witchy.
Yeah, witchy, so to speak.
In a medium kind of way, not
like
not in the like the old ball and chain is a witch. No, it's
No,
it's really like they see stuff and foresee stuff coming.
Yeah, like they have a
cannot
dream.
explain.
Yeah, they have a dream and say, "Don't drive to
The
work
only
today."
difference between you and me is that you believe your wife. I'm still in the camp of like, nope. No matter how much you raise, I'm not gonna believe that.
So I do believe, because she has proved right. Like, she's proved me right.
Oh, trust me, my wife's proved me right many times. I'm just stubborn.
You're stubborn. You can deal with the pain, the emotional turmoil. So there was a couple times where we had certain, like, so we were in Gettysburg, and there was like, Gettysburg is really, really haunted. And my wife we would go to certain parts, and my wife would be like, "You smell cinnamon?" And I smelled no cinnamon at all. And like, she would get like a sick stomach, and then she'd be like she would just look at certain things, and like I could notice like orbs. So you take a picture, whenever she said that, there would be like orbs or shadows. And the other side of that is that she would get experiences where, like, a friend I never told her about died. I didn't know about it. That night, she came to me and told me, "Do you know who this person is?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Listen, don't, tell Raj, not to worry about it. We were high school friends. We were, childhood friends." She knew his name, where he lived. She knew the color of the sofa that we had on his Northeast Philly porch. We found this yellow sofa and put it on his porch, and his parents got really mad at us for having a yellow sofa there. But she knew all these things that I never told her. So there's some type of energy convergence there. But like she brought something home from Gettysburg, a piece of furniture one time, and my brother-in-law, we're all sitting out back, and he's like, yo, I just saw a Civil War soldier walk across your dining room, and I was like, no, please no, you did not see any of that. So here's the thing: while I don't want to believe in them, I'm too afraid not to guard
just in
myself
case.
against potentially being harmed by one.
Yeah, just in case, right? Like,
Just in case. Like we grow sage out back.
oh, dude.
So I tell my wife, I was like, "Can we dry it and like
Yeah, no.
sage
So
the house?"
I buy a lot of crap from Facebook Marketplace, right?
Yeah.
And before it comes into my house, my wife has to like sage it down and do the whole thing. So it's like get rid of all the spirits, like.
I rely on my wife for all the decisions.
No, no,
I'm
it's like that I'll let her, because it's like that's one of those things that it's like, yeah, like yeah, ha ha ha, but at the same time, do your thing, honey, because I don't want to
Just in
freaking be
case.
haunted.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to buy this really nice axe.
This couch, that
I'm buying a
inversion
used
table.
chainsaw axe that were used in some murder, like that I don't know about. I don't want them in the house."
Yeah, that's I don't know.
No, I totally rely on my wife. She's like there, she knows it, and it's like when she says don't do this, I have a feeling.
Yeah.
The worst is when she says she has a bad feeling but can't pinpoint it. Then I'm looking at the sky for an airplane to fall on me. Like
With the contrail behind, it's like, damn
Yeah,
it,
like,
now
damn,
I'm
the climate
died and
change
have a
is
lot of
too-
aluminum on myself.
not the aluminum.
Not the aluminum. Meanwhile, there's a freaking 500-ton aluminum thing on you.
That's what I would think though. I would see it like crashing. I'd be like,
Yeah.
well, in that case, it's on fire, so it's supposed to have a trail.
Yeah.
But before it caught on fire, it was doing something nefarious.
Yeah. No, man. Ghosts is one of those things that it's like, I remember as a kid, I was like, oh my God, total believer. Like, we used to go to this like country house in Maryland, and the guy who took care of it, he would tell us stories because he lived there alone pretty much. Mm-hmm. And, the guy who took care of it would tell us all kinds of stories of like, that has just seen stuff and not explaining certain stuff. And, maybe you wonder, it's like, okay, there's kids coming here, like horror stories of the country, right? And all that stuff. But, other times you really, for some people, you really believe it. Like, it's like, oh, there's no reason why this person would lie. And that gets scary because you start really thinking about, what is it though? Because some of it is old wise tales, some of it is like,
Legends,
story,
local legend or
local
yeah.
legends. I mean, in Paraguay, we're known for it. I mean, there's like myths, like I don't know how you say it, like but there's like myths of these people that roam around the countryside. Mm-hmm. One of them is like blonde, blue-eyed kid, and if you see him, you're dead. Another one, it has like a dick that goes all the way around his stomach and goes and rapes, like unless you give him tobacco and whiskey. Like I swear to God, like there are actual myths that you can pull up and see. But there's like.
So I never heard of this one, and this is intriguing to me. So you have a stunningly handsome Swedish German,
Yeah.
long hair, blue eyed man running around like causing havoc, and his kind of pet monsteroid that you have to feed whiskey.
I don't think
to.
they work together, but
I thought it were a team.
No, they're not a team. They're like, different myths like that happen along the countryside, and there's people who dead ass will believe in that stuff. Like, hey, like I left the cigar there and I left the whiskey there, and at night I saw the cigar being lit, and all this stuff, and it's like. Yeah, that's just people that know
Bro, I
that
was
there's
smoking
fucking
that
cigar
cigar,
and
I saw
whiskey,
you.
and because you leave it there every night.
I saw you left the party behind, so I went to smoke.
Yeah, right. Like, but at the same time, there's people who just believe it. But put that aside. There's people who tell stories, and some stories that you hear, some stories that you experience, that makes you question, like, what the hell is this, right? And going back to the alternate reality, like, is it you just kind of peeking into another reality that's happening right now?
I agree.
Like, are they like in this kind of like mid kind of like a part between whatever the afterlife is or whatever, like other reality they go to or anything like that? Or is life as just simple as like living, you die and that's it and it's gone and everything is bullshit, right? Like,
Well,
where
yeah.
do you stand on that? Like, for me, it's like, I really believe in like what we know right now and cold-heartedly, but I also believe that there is a lot that we don't know. And there's definitely some type of thing that we give out, that some type of energy that can cause things that we just can't explain. Because many times in science alone, scientists have gone back and just say, I can't explain this, so therefore it's God. And that's the God theory in science. Like, hey, like, I can't explain it. Newton couldn't explain certain parts of gravity, so he was like, well, that's just God. And then here came Einstein and explained it, right? And
Yeah.
so there, like things like that. I believe that it's happening right now with energy and all this stuff, and with ourselves and realities and everything. I don't even know how to put it in words, but we just can't explain it. That's what I believe.
So we can
So
explain how big stuff works, right? Anytime we're going to like smash something together and count its destructive power, we're really great at doing that. But what we can't explain is things that are super, super small, right? And how they
yeah.
work. Because it seems like that what we experience on a large scale does not match the experiences that we can observe on a small scale.
Well, it's not so much that. Imagine you draw like a little person on like a stick figure on, on a piece of paper, right? That piece of paper is 2D, and the stick figure can go back and forth onto the piece of paper, right? Now try to explain to that stick figure what three-dimensional is. His whole life is one direction. So for us to understand what else other dimensions are out there and what other thing, is very hard for us to understand that.
I agree. And mathematically, it may like they can be other dimensional things to shapes, but we don't have the biological senses to experience them, right? We need help describing
Yeah.
it, right? So, what I mean by things operate differently on a small scale, like
You're talking about like basically
quantum mechanics,
yeah.
like if you separate a particle, right? The electron, like the spin of the particle, if you take its pair particle and you put it as far away as you can think, if you manipulate one, the other manipulates all the time. So how do they talk to each other, right? There's something that enables that we don't understand. It's called spooky action.
Especially for us.
It's-
We're just a bunch of dumbasses talking about
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm
particles.
probably describing this
yeah,
in like the worst possible way possible.
It's like, we don't understand. Yeah, no shit, we don't understand. We don't know anything about that shit.
Right, but there's like quantum energy between these like two electron particles to where when one spins, the other spins, right? Like, and it's no matter how far apart they are, they react to one another that way. So why does that happen, right? No one knows.
Yeah.
No one also knows whenever, do you ever hear of the double slit experiment?
No.
You take a flashlight and you take some like piece of cardboard and you put two slits in it, right? And you flash the flashlight through the slits. What do you expect to see on the wall behind the slits of cardboard, right? Two lines, right? You're shining a flashlight through a piece of cardboard that has two slits on it.
Okay.
So if you shine the flashlight through those two slits on the wall behind that, you would expect to see two beams of light, two slits.
No.
What would you expect to see?
A pattern, like,
Why?
because light refracts off each other.
It does, but if you stop observing it and just let a camera do it, you get a different result, which is crazy.
Wait,
Look it
explain
up on
what
YouTube. I don't know why it works. I'm like you said,
Look it up
I'm
on
a dumbass. I'm just a dumbass explaining something I saw. But look at the double slit experiment. It's scary and weird and strange and fun.
But those are physics experiments that is explainable, though, right?
Sorta.
It's like the
not
same thing if
completely.
you have two cans like on the string together and you blow in between it. What do you expect it to happen? Like a
Those
lot of
cans
people
move.
like who don't know physics and all this stuff, you expect the cans to fall like outwards on each other, right?
Right.
Where what really happens is they smack into each other because you blew the air, therefore creating a vacuum in between it, and all the air pressures on the other side are not equal to the air pressure in between it, and therefore it smacks into each other, right? So the double slits, I mean, I don't know, like the experiments, I would look it up,
Look at
but
the
like at the
experiment.
same time, I would expect that to be just like one of those physics experiments where it's totally explainable.
It's a little strange. You can't really explain the non-observational impact though. You expect what you see and you say it, and then when you stop
I gotta
observing,
look
it's a
it up
different
because
result.
I don't think this is
It's the
as
thing.
huge of a like
I don't know if it's like
conspiracy or
groundbreaking, but
groundbreaking
I'm just saying
experiment.
that shit
I
didn't
think
make
it's
any
one of those
sense.
like high school physics teacher would be like, "Yeah, dumbass, it's because of this."
I don't know. I don't know. We're going to look it up. And we're
All
going to
right.
find out. All right. So, what about in the convergence of conspiracy theories of like of a historical nature, like where kind of science and like I don't know historical or religion meet, right? Like, the giants ever exist?
Oh yeah,
You think there was giants?
yeah. There's like no. Isn't there like a whole thing of like a city full of giant? Then there's also like another one where in time there was like a city full of like
Yeah.
very small people and all that stuff.
Ooh, they scare me.
Yeah.
The small people can't be allowed to stay.
Are you scared of little people?
No, dolls, porcelain
Okay.
dolls.
Okay, all right.
And
I
it's
was gonna say
because it's because of my experience as a kid with my this like my so my grandparents used to go to Mexico to visit family, right? New Mexico. And they would come back with something for me all the time, and they always had marionette puppets that were handmade.
Yeah.
And they were super awesome, right? However, they used to get hung from my ceiling as a child in my bedroom. And there was this one who looked like Lady Elaine from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but she was a witch riding a broom. And she stared at me before I went to bed for years on end. And I used to look up at Lady Elaine. And let me describe the whole environment of my childhood bedroom. So not only had all these marionette puppets hanging off my ceiling, one that scared me, but I also had velvet paintings of the Roadrunner, Mickey Mouse, and like so a very like a strange paneling on the wall. It was cool,
Yeah.
but Lady Elaine scared the hell out of me. And my parents were always like, they gave me the dolls when I was like an adult when I moved out, and I was like, no,
No.
I don't want them. I don't want them. I will set them on fire. They have no emotional attachment to me. They scared me for life.
Yeah. It's funny with parents, and I don't know, like they try to give you stuff that they found interesting, or they found, like you so, and thinking that their kids are also gonna do that.
I'm
Like
so bad with it.
value it as much as they did. Like my mother-in-law would give us like, she gave us a suitcase full of like coin collection and rocks and this and that, and I mean I'm sure it's maybe worth something, maybe not and stuff, but like I'm not interested in coins. My kids are not interested in coins. Like what the hell am I gonna do with this? Like it's just a freaking heavy bag that's in there somewhere.
It's a heavy bag you're gonna have to
That
move at
yeah,
some
that
point.
that we're just gonna have to move somewhere. But like, and she's like, oh, like keep it for your grandchildren. They would want it, and I'm like, that's not how it works. No, like, so what are you gonna do? You're gonna It's like, if you don't want us to have it, then you can have it back. Like you can get sell it, give it to charity, or give it to somebody who cared. I'm perfectly fine with that. But like, it's like, don't think that we are gonna have the same likes like with the marionette. Your mom probably was like, oh, it was in his childhood thing, he would probably want this, and you're like, nope.
Yeah, nope, didn't want it.
Yeah.
I'm so bad with keeping stuff like that too.
Oh god.
I don't. I'm like I throw stuff away all the time.
All
I'm
the
very
time.
simplistic.
I mean, I hoard a lot of crap. Not hoard, but like I buy a lot of crap. but I also throw away a lot of crap. So like my wife, I'm very much into like cleaning up and getting rid of stuff that I don't use anymore easily. I have no emotional attachment, and she gets emotionally attached to things. Like one time we had a pan that was like completely like old and just
Trashed.
yeah. It's like we got new sets when we got married, so I was like, "Well, we got new sets. Let's get rid of this one. We don't need another one." And she's like, "Why?" I was like, "Well, it's old." She's like, "That was the first pan I bought when I came to this country," And I'm like, "Okay, but it's old." Like, it's like I don't get it.
Everything
It's
sticks
a
to
pan.
it.
It's not, like I don't know, but yeah, it was one of those things that I'm like,
I
yeah,
just
get
threw
rid
one
of
of
it.
those out last week.
Yeah,
And no
like,
one
I'm
knew
like,
I did it.
if I can go into the kitchen and throw away 50% of the containers that we have,
Yeah.
please, God, let me do that without. Because she goes and buys new containers for the kids, lunches, and all this stuff. It's like, we have so much. It's ridiculous. Her going into a container store is,
The Tupperware,
death
man. Yeah.
to our account.
Yeah. I
Three
don't.
hundred dollars down the drain for things that we have.
Yeah, we already have those things.
It's ridiculous. But then again, I spent money on crap, so I can't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a $300 Lego set
Yeah.
that just sits on my wall.
But that's a nice Lego set, man.
That is a nice Lego set.
That took some time to build.
Yeah. But yeah, the thing of like parents giving stuff, not the same. We need to understand that when we grow up and your kids are getting to that age, they don't want the things that you wanted.
No, they don't. And
No.
they're like, "Are you going to leave us the house?" I'm like,
You got like they're
Yeah.
planning for your death already.
Yeah. They
God
were like, "Can we
dang.
just have?" They were like,
One heart attack and they're
What?
already planning.
I was telling them, that I was like, "Oh, I'm going to move some." They're like, "Just leave us the house." Then I was like, "No, I was going to sell it, to move." And they were like, "You could leave it to us still." I was like, "All right."
Yeah. Oh,
That's not. It's not. It is. Would be nice. I would like to leave them the house.
it would be nice, but yeah.
But you know what it is?
You-
That just means that I get to manage two houses for a while. I'd be
They-
like, how do you do this? Come fix this.
There's a
And-
saying that I heard. I don't quite agree with it, but it's kind of fun. Inheritance is a bad accounting error on your part. Meaning that you didn't spend all the money that you had until you're dead, right?
Yeah,
And you left money. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, we all work hard to leave our kids and hopefully give them a leg up.
I could also make the argument that everything that I teach them and push
They
them
can do it
towards
on their own.
is the biggest inheritance that they'd ever have, right? Because then they just know how to do it on their own. They know how to create it.
Yeah.
That's the key. Knowing how to create your wealth. Wealth, and not just money, wealth comes in many different forms, right? Knowing how to create that is far more important than it being given to you. Because I've been in both situations. I've been given things in my life, and I've also earned them.
Yeah.
And I can say with 100% certainty that it is far better to experience the creationary aspect of making yourself and family happy than just having it given.
There is that. And there's also the opportunities that are awarded to people that are given stuff also. If they take
Agreed.
good care of it and they understand the opportunity of it.
Yeah.
For example, like if you didn't have to worry about buying a house when and all this stuff, or you might have not had the opportunity to maybe go through school and do the stuff with one less thing if that house wasn't given to you, right? And it's not like a thing. It's like there's people who get stuff and they take it for granted and they don't see how they can step on that and really get a leg up in this world by that gift.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. As I always try and teach the value of like what we have. Like I was walking with my daughter yesterday. Rare treat for her to go on a walk with me with the dogs. But she just got her new job. I picked her up from the train station. We had a really nice day. And she was like, I want to go like just appreciate my new, I want to celebrate myself. So I'm pretty proud
Yeah.
of myself. I was like, you should be. And she was just saying on the walk, like, how lucky she felt to live in a neighborhood like this. And, like sometimes even I catch myself taking it for granted when 1,000 other things are going on. I take for granted that when I go out to walk my dogs, it's on a tree-lined street with 80-foot oak trees. And the school is within walking distance and it opens up into a big, beautiful field that has a great sunset.
Yeah.
Right? I take it for granted that I came from the city. We
Yeah.
both did. So we know what it's like to live in the city and what that is compared to up here. And quite honestly, I worked really, really hard to get here.
Yeah.
And this is how I also know that my wife is in it for life, because she stayed with me when we had a shitty ass apartment in Northeast Philly. It was above an eyeglass place, like an optometrist place on Tarsdale or Frankfurt and Cotman, which whenever a playoff game is won, that turns into a big party.
Yeah.
So we came all the way from there up to here. Like
My wife met me when I was delivering pizzas.
So that's love,
Yeah,
right? That's how you
love,
know.
man.
That's how you know.
That's love.
See how
Like,
we're lucky.
yeah, 100%. And I remember our friend who's effed up was like saying something about like basically, like when you get divorced or something like that, you can take half. And her other friend was like, half of what? Half pepperoni, half cheese?
That's tough.
Like, what the hell? Like, are you talking about? One, why are you talking about divorce? Two, what the hell are you gonna walk away with? Right?
Yeah.
There's nothing to be half.
Yeah.
So we lived in Northeast for a while, and I mean, I don't know if I told this on a podcast or not, but there was times where a trip to Costco with a surprise annual fee of $60.
I have those too.
I would just be like, yeah, I got to leave my stuff because I can't afford this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
There's like there's things that definitely we try not to take for granted, but we get used to it. And going back to where we came from and everything like that. I grew up in West Philly, like really, really bad neighborhoods, and yeah, very grateful.
When my wife met me, I didn't even have a job. So I was like, I was kind of like, are you sure?
Are you sure?
I'm not that great. I was going back to school at the time. I was working for Verizon. I just had lost my job and I got laid off, and I was just on unemployment. They were paying benefits. I had like a deal. It was like a sweet part-time job. It was like $30 an hour. But I was like, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to write software. So I had an associate's degree. So I was like 2 years away, and it seemed like a really great idea. She was like, I'll support you through it.
Yeah.
And I was like, me? I look over my shoulder. She wholeheartedly believed in me. And I was like, yeah. So we made 2 5-year plans. One was for me to go back to school, which is where we're at now, which is how you and I met and started this podcast, which is a very novel memory for me to have going all the way back to here to this point. And now she's getting ready to graduate nursing school, which I'm very proud of.
That's amazing.
And she'll be which is awesome because she, whenever anyone's injured, I'm like, excuse me. Can you fix us real quick?
Can you please take a look at my hemorrhoids? I'm sure she would not like that.
She gets in the thick of it, man.
Yeah. No, nurses too.
I'm like, no thanks. Like, that's why I didn't pick the medical industry. Like, I'll do informatics, like from the office.
Yeah.
I'll work on your computers, which we'll have to have a whole nother thing about like usability in general. But
Usability.
did you ever work on a system in a hospital or in medicine in general?
No.
It is awful. It's as complicated as learning Visual Studio for the first time. It's crazy. Because I remember the feeling I got when I sat in front of Visual Studio. The first week, I was like, huh? What? Debug? what? Red dots on the screen? What is this
Oh, for
magic?
For me, it was heaven because for me, I came like when I started learning, I literally did
Writing it on
everything
paper.
on Notepad.
Yeah.
And like back then, it was I started with like JavaScript and all this stuff, so it was like literally write debugger on the page, and then when it would hit or like worse, debugger was like a luxury, right? Like you would put
Luxury.
alert, alert, my code is here, and therefore you knew like okay, it went through all these steps, and now I'm here, right? Like that's how I started. So when I got to like actually using IDEs and all that, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
That's why you have superpowers now, though.
Yeah.
It is. It's
No,
why it's-
there is to that. Like you understand how everything works
how
behind
to
the
troubleshoot.
scenes, and you know how to
There's an
troubleshoot.
art
You really
to troubleshoot.
there is that. But yeah,
best people I work with, they are experts at pulling a problem down to its simplistic form, fixing it, and building it right back up again.
yeah,
Within a half hour.
Yeah.
Right. Let's take all those other things out of the equation. Let's just focus on this
Yeah.
piece. And I learned that semi early on
Yeah.
in my career. I watched someone do it. They're like, stop putting the red dots on the screen. Like, we're going to fill with the browser later. Put this log here in your code, and now build it, and then go and look and see where the message is.
yeah,
And then that I was like, oh, you're just taking all the other stuff out of the mix.
yeah,
It gives you superpowers, man.
yeah. It's you live and you learn kind of thing.
You're very modest. You're like, yeah, I know a little something.
No, I mean,
You're like a super fancy
I appreciate like
cloud engineer, bro.
compliments for me. Like, it's kind of funny because I'm very big headed when it comes to myself. I would compliment myself
I'm kind of
left and right.
My wife always
and
tells me I love myself.
yeah, I love myself, and I'm like, I'm the best. I'm this and that, and all this stuff, and but when somebody compliments me, I get really, really like, oh, and there's times where I really have to just be like, yeah, I appreciate it, thank you, and just take it to heart and leave it at that. But I get a little bit like I don't wanna seem like I'm,
But sometimes in my mind, I point, wink, and say, I think you're right. Thank you for the compliment. I think you're correct.
I think you're correct. Yeah, there's that.
Well, but when the compliment does come in, especially in a, professional setting,
Yeah.
there is expectation associated with compliments, right?
Like what?
Like, for instance, when you moved over into just DevOps world, it took forever for the developers, the feature teams to stop thinking that you were really still kind of for the teams, like, well, they'll fix the code. Am I going to fix the code? Create a pull request. Like, because you're good at both. You were always good at both.
Yeah, but I had to draw the line and just be like, no, that's not happening. Even
Yeah.
to my manager, I was like, you know what? Like I know I did that in the past world. Like I was this, I wore that hat, but I don't want to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. There was a time where it's like, oh, everything's going to hell. Like we need more developers. It's like, can we recruit Jose to go into the teams? And I was just like, you can, but you're gonna be down a DevOps person, and that's really the bottleneck right here. So, do you really want to do that? It's like, yeah, I'm willing to go down that route if it takes, but it's not worth it. And I don't wanna. Like, for me to go back to coding, I don't know. I enjoy what I do now, and I'm like, I don't enjoy all the surprises that comes with coding. Like in the sense of like you're trying to build a nice house, you put brick by brick, and then somebody's telling you, by the way, we wanted a balcony on the first floor. And I was like, what? And you're like, now I got to take all this out and put a balcony, but the first floor, it doesn't make sense. Don't you want a deck? No, we want a balcony on the first floor. And it's like, what the F are you talking about? And those kind of things like piss me off. So with my role now, it's like there's disagreements in the way that we do certain things, but for the general sense is very much like overseer of everything and kind of corral everything in my space, and I like it that way,
So I'm the polar opposite. The reason I get into it is to stop the balcony from being built when it's spoken about.
I no
So
matter yeah
the
no
minute
but
I hear that the balcony with spinning rims is about to be installed or even discussed, I'm like, well, let's hold on. Why do we need it?
yeah
How much value does it have? Who asked for it? And when I find out like what department asked for it, what users are asking for it, who are they, what companies, I ask a ton of questions. I almost do death by question,
yeah
right? But I have to find out. I have to know what the why. The why needs to be explained before we build it.
the why is huge everywhere, but yeah, without getting into shop talk, it gets annoying for me as a
Yeah.
developer to go down that route, and
I got frustrated by
I
JavaScript.
I don't want to.
I stopped wanting to code because I got frustrated with JavaScript.
Well, JavaScript is hell.
But, and we'll probably have to stop Tech Talk soon.
Yeah.
Bun 1.0. Go look at it.
What is it?
Bun 1.0.
Okay.
It's awesome. This will make life easier. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not in that world anymore. I don't want to.
You don't want to look at it? They have a fun character. That's why I was like, whoo. Like my idiot brain went on when I saw the nice little character talking on the screen on YouTube. I was like, who's that little guy there? What's he doing? What do you have to say?
My idiot brain.
And then some like developers started talking about, this and that.
We were for talking about particles, splitting atoms to like, ooh, look at this
brain.
guy dance.
let's watch this character dance on screen.
It's like the baby dancing from the 90s websites.
That reminds me of Don Hirschfield's animations that he did for the Learning Center, which used to be a TLC channel on cable thing.
Yeah.
So this famed animator, Don Hirschfeld, I think that's his name. They asked him to do animations for the Learning Channel for children. And he totally went off the reservation and created something crazy. They were supposed to be promotional spots, and none of them make sense, but they're awesome. So he has one, and look it up and watch it because they're hilarious. He has one of just like a baby walking and then like then falls down the steps, like never ending for the Learning Channel, which children watch. And then he has another one where there's just some dudes, they're stick figures. There's some guys sitting and there's a sign that says Silly Hat Day, and a guy shows up with a regular hat and they roll on him. So there's like all these weird things he did. And the Learning Channel rejected all of his, stuff, but you look it up, it was like a pretty famous bit of like art and animation.
So, you ever watch Bob's Burger?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know the story behind Bob's Burger and
don't
how
know
it
the story.
started? Oh, it's awesome. So, Bob's Burger, if you ever watch, he's next to a funeral, right? On one side. And if you look at the intro, the store on the other side is always changing. Every episode, it's a different store. So the story goes that the original pitch for Bob's Burger was that they were killing the store owner on one side, getting to the funeral house on the other side, and cooking the meat and making it into burgers.
Is the original pitch?
And if you look at the intro, you would see like the revolving stores on one side, but the funeral house and Bob's Burger like kind of stay the same.
It makes sense to me in a strange way. So I went to art
And
school
they
for a little
rejected
while.
that. And
Oh, of course, yeah, rejected, yeah. Well, so when I was in art school, those are the ideas that they say, yes, do that.
yeah,
So we would for hours, like even though we had access to like 3D modeling and animation on computers, we still had to do traditional animation, which is hand drawn. And when hand drawn animation, it's a lot of fun and it's cool. You get a desk and you get this kind of rotary wheel, right? And it holds multiple pages and it has light behind it. And it's once you have one drawing, you pretty much trace over the next one with the character just in a little bit of a different position to give the illusion of movement, right? So we would sit there for hours just like tripping, like making a character fall down or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would take forever. And those kind of ideas like that are like, they're like, yeah, they're funny. Do that.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of them like that come out where you're like, we would be like, everyone will be invited to watch the animation reels, like the whole school. And some people will be like, oh, why did his head get chopped off at the end? Like, why?
In high school, we used to watch Happy Tree Friends. Did you watch that?
Yes, if you treat friends, that's coming back to me now.
Oh god, I remember showing it. Probably I shouldn't have, but showing it to my kids.
Oh,
It's like, Daddy used to watch this. Then I pull it up, and I'm like, probably not the right thing for
got
a
in trouble a
10-year-old.
couple times. So my oldest daughter, Rachel, we used to in the summertime Saturdays, rare when like something wasn't going on, it would just be real hot out. Be like, let's turn the air conditioner on, we'll order pizza or stay in today. And this was my younger one was real little, so she would be like dolls and play time with a friend upstairs or something. So Rachel, I would be like playing a video game. Right, I would play it. So when Assassin's Creed first came out, I was like enamored by it. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was a great idea. I love the historical aspect that really like spoke to me.
Yeah.
And I was also love the idea. I felt like I was in prison shanking people, but in the ancient world. So like, every time he would flip, I would be like, do a barrel roll. And my daughter picked up on that and loved watching the character spin and roll. So she was watching me play it. And at one point in the game, I had to hire these ladies of the night in a brothel to spy for me, right? To spy for me. So I had like a network of brothels at some point that I would get information from so I could identify my targets and go get them. So she was over at her family's house at one point. So she asked me, she's like, what's a lady of the night? And I was like, oh, probably shouldn't let you watch that part. You're 8, you're 9. I was like, that's just a lady wears an evening gown, pretty dress. And I think everything of it, I just kept going.
Yeah.
She's over at the family's house, and they call me. They're like, Rachel told us, we asked her what she wants to be when she grows up. We asked her what she wants to be, and she said a lady of the night. And when we asked why, she said, because they get to wear pretty dresses all the time. And they were like, do you know anything about this? I was like, yes, I'll talk to her when she comes home about that.
Bert Kreischer had this joke about his kid. One time it's like, oh, Isla said the N word, and it's like, yeah, and it's like, Isla, you shouldn't say that, and all this stuff. It's like, what? The teacher said that if you are one, you can say it, and it's like, no, and it's like, wait a second, what do you think the N word is? And it's like, nerd, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, like, and all this stuff, that's fine. And all that stuff. And then another time, it's like, Isla said the C word. And it's like, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Isla, what do you think the C word is? Cunt. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's the right one.
That's the right one.
Don't say that.
Don't say that one.
But yeah, like the kids, one time, my wife likes to do that. I mean, like she treats our kids like adults. And in the sense of, there's no hiding stuff. There's no... the stork broke the baby, right? Like, it's like, no, parents had sex, this is what it is, and you should know that. Like very straightforward, like having conversations with them and really treating them like adults, which I think it's right to a point, right? There's times where she would say stuff to them, and I'm just like, I don't know if I agree with that, but go for it, right? One time I'm like, where is everybody? And I see them outside on the yard, and they're like, kind of like, playing around, this and that. I go out there, and each one has a knife, and it's just like swinging at each other. And I'm like, what the F is going on here? But like, I'm like, no, this can't be, right? Like, they're literally like trying to slash and like avoiding each other, and like my wife and my kids are playing, and again I'm like, and then I realize like they're rubber knives. She's like, oh yeah, I thought it would be helpful for them to learn how to wield a knife. Like, all right,
It's okay. I'm teaching our kids
it's
knife
all right.
fighting.
Yeah, like it's all right. I'm like, okay,
As long as they know
yeah,
that the difference is rubber knives between
Yeah.
the ones in the kitchen.
yeah. No, they're really good. Like I said,
Yeah.
kids are safe like that. But like when I first saw it, I was like, what the F is going on here? Like, she's gone too far.
Teaching knife fighting? When did she learn
I'm
how
all
to
right
knife
with the
fight?
teaching knife.
When did we learn knife fighting?
Yeah, right. But yeah, like that was a funny thing, dude.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to have, like, as a kid. Like, I proved myself unreliable and unworthy to have the tools, the sharp stuff. That, like, I remember the first time I got my hands on a nail gun. That was a gun. That was target practice for me. Like, that wasn't. I was building things with it. I was like,
You grew up in the time that the safety press wasn't on.
wasn't on. It was you could hold it.
You could hold
it. was
it.
like a machine gun.
Yeah.
That was fun. Like I got
Yeah, my parents didn't like, even the cap guns or whatever. They're like, oh no, no guns.
yeah.
Like, or no.
I didn't grow up around guns. I just had access to tools, fire, and sharp
fire.
objects. Yeah, like most people have access to that stuff, but like I transformed it
Yeah,
into things that were fun.
yeah. Well, yeah. Our house is different.
Torch. The torch was a big one for me. You know, the butane torch? Just a little, just a guy. Man, I was always using that thing to melt everything I get my hands on. I'm like, Dad, I need a new tank. He was like, for what? What do you mean tank? What were you doing? I was like, I was in the garage. I found a torch. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're not allowed to use a torch anymore. He's like, I didn't know you were in there using a torch. I said, yes, I was using the torch. He was like, what'd you do? I was like, I melted all manner of thing.
Yeah.
No Pepsi can came in and didn't get melted. Like, I was like, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Then I found out what I could do with like epoxy. Right? Like then I had like epoxy in a torch and that got very sticky. And I couldn't get it off certain things. Once I stuck it on there and melted it, I ruined my dad's tool. At one point, I had his whole vice locked up. Like I would heat things up to see how red they would get.
Just expanding and shrinking it and gets locked up.
Yeah, and then my dad was like, "Make sure you put all the tools away." I would always have something going. Like
My kid does like anytime we do fires or whatever outside, he's like, "Do you need wood chopped? I can chop some wood." Like and all
Sure,
that stuff. It's like set up an axe yard, and then just like, okay, here's a safety thing, and then he knows. But every single time he swings, it just goes pump punk, pump punk. Like it's just hitting the wood and then the ground, wood and ground, and just like dulling my blade. I was like, okay. Like it's a good learning experience, but at the same time, I gotta freaking deal with that maintenance now.
you sharpen the
Yeah,
axe. I used to have a sharpener in my garage. I didn't
Yeah.
use it that much, so
but yeah, like I think it's important for the kids to know
yeah.
how to.
The girls I like, they never had an interest. Like
Well, yeah, it's
I get
different.
them to cut the grass. Like at least cut the grass for me.
Yeah.
My wife's like, they'll chop their feet off. I was
They'll
like,
chop their
I don't think so. But so
Yeah, my we did like a fire pit in the back.
I got to build one. I had like a metal tray that I had, and then it, just they don't last that many seasons. But
And I don't know if I told you this or not, but like, yeah, I got the stones and everything, and my wife decided to like take all the stones to where we're gonna build a fire pit. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me of that comedian that was like, like, that's fine, but now you got to tell the neighbors that you wanted to do this, not that I made you do this.
anytime I see a grouping of stones and sticks, I always think of the Blair Witch Project, and I feel like I'm inviting that witch to my fire at some point.
Yeah, that's getting back to the conspiracy.
We didn't even talk about the conspiracy. Well, I don't know if it's a conspiracy, but the Nephilim giants.
The what?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the giants. Okay.
But
Go
the
ahead.
Nephilim, like there's like historical context. So did you ever hear about what is it? It's the book of Enoch.
No.
It's one of the books that were left out of the Bible on purpose. There's a couple books, but this one particularly has tons of historical references, and you can track stories in the Bible from there to it. Enoch was Moses' great grandfather or great grandfather. He's mentioned once in the Bible. His story is God took him because he was devout and said, "Yo, I'm gonna come up to heaven. I'm gonna show you what it's about." And he was like, "Thanks." He goes up to heaven, right? And he learns all about the choirs of angels and all the things there. But he also learns that there's some rogue angels about. So the concept of the fallen angel is really the angels coming back down to earth, and they're mad because God didn't make them wives, and they want wives, so they come to take human wives, right? But because they commingle their DNA, they create giants, and that's where giants come from. But the giants eat all the food on the earth, and when there's no more food, they start eating people, and that's when God has to send the crew down to say, like, "Yo, you got to get rid of all the giants." But the giants, because they're like a hybrid, cannot be killed. So God basically buries them in the earth under the oceans. Right. So this is like the crazy cool story that ties in historically to like what you can read in the Bible. And it's really interesting.
It is. I love educational kind of outlooks on Bible stories or any like kind of religion. I took a religion class in college, and I remember that there was a whole thing of like why there's no stories of Jesus from 18 to 32, I think it is, right? And part of it had to do with Mary wanted Jesus to get married, and
Yeah.
he, since he had a purpose in life and in this earth, then he didn't want to, so therefore he ran off. And not only did he ran off, but he ran off to the east, where he met like monks that were like meditating and everything, and teaching all that, because there's correlations of the Bible after he comes back between that and Buddhism, right?
Yeah.
So there's like all these like scholar kind of outlook on religion. It's like really really cool.
So
Really
if you
interesting.
read through the so my daughter's her boyfriend is Egyptian, and I'm very interested in their culture, and he tells me when they learn about religion as children in Egypt, they're taught that the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran are a 3-part series that are supposed to be studied together. Which the Quran is the end book, right? It's the most recent accounting of religion in the world of God, right? So like they see it differently. They see it as a beginning to end story, because Jesus also appears as a prophet there, and in their story, he also comes back down to convert all good people into being good Muslims, teach them how to live a good life. For us, we have more of a tactical, like, I kind of feel like Jesus is like, at least in the United States, is like America Jesus, like
America
he's
Jesus.
coming down with a tactical vest to like get rid of all the bad people.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
I think I might
I
have
don't
made
think
it
that's
up.
very like scholar view on this.
That's the idiot brain working again.
That's the idiot
America
brain.
Jesus. Here to
The
save
idiot
you
brain
with
takes
it.
over a lot for me and you.
That's why guns aren't illegal. They're waiting for America Jesus to come down, and he's going to need them in the end days.
Oh Lord, that's messed up.
We're going to have
Wait.
an interesting podcast description this week.
Yeah. With that, I think it's time to wrap it up, man.
Yeah, man. It's time to wrap it up.
Good talking. Let's
Later,
play some
bro.
chess.
Let's do it.